Hey, my people. So I've been trying to give my lives on both Instagram and Facebook, but it is not allowing me to do them and transfer them over. So I'm going to just do both at the just differently at the same time so that you guys can get the full video that I put on Facebook, also on Instagram. So I'm not even going to start this morning with what everybody else has been watching on TV. We know about the riots and the uprise. Now, as I said at the beginning of this week, from the very first day, for those who don't know that my background, because it's the first time I'm actually doing a live on Instagram, I want you to tag your friends and everybody you know, because this is how I'm going to start using this, because I usually just tape it and then I send it over to my Instagram account. But this is, my name is Takwasa Yejide Sekou. I am a prior teacher. I have a master's in African history, sign language, and JD, a doctorate in theology, and as history, and not as a theologian. Both the Quran, the Bible, the Torah, and the Book of Mormons. Superior Court judge, criminal trial attorney, all that. So I'm putting all that out there only because this is the first time doing a live. My birth name was Cherie Lynn Jackson, born in Asbury Park. My name was changed when I was 21. So it's been Takwasa Yejide Sekou since I'm 21. For those who don't know how old I am, I'm 58. I'll be 59 on July 20th. So that is quick who I am. And I am also I have an LLM in criminal law and constitutional law. So that is a little bit of background. So having spent 14 years as a public defender, 7 years on the Superior Court, I have also done municipal court. I'm in private practice. And right now it is my effort to make myself available to this present administration. So everyone who gets a chance to see this, I want to be on boots on the ground coming up in the representation of the African American community and our country as a whole on this new changing of the guards. And ladies and gentlemen, we must change the guards. This issue that we're dealing with George Floyd is just a very thin Band-Aid that has been on a gaping hole for over 400 years since we laid our foot on this soil in 1619. Killing black people is not anything new. Lynching is just a change from the rope to the gun. When we first got here, all there was muskets. It took you a minute to up a musket. So we went from the musket to the whip to the chopping off our feet, chopping off our arms. So white people, black people, Native Americans, Asians, no one should be shocked by the death of black people in America at the hands of the white law enforcement. The Ku Klux Klan was the reason why we have the FBI today. It was because of the Ku Klux Klan. Just do your simple history. Reason why we have a CIA is because Russia had the KGB. They were doing intelligence. So just a little bit of history of how this country has come about. Now we have had a whole last week. We've been of rioting. Now, I brought to the attention of those who saw last night the first, major riot. When we were brought here as slaves, our intention was to go back if we could go back. That's how come you got a Liberia today for those who did get a chance to go back. But those of us who didn't get a chance to go back to the motherland, we are here and now we have built this country. So we're not going anywhere. So you need to get comfortable with that. But the fact that 400 years later, we are still trying to be equal to you. We have fought in the American wars. We have died in the American wars. We have been hung after coming back from American wars. We even tried to bury the Union when the Confederates did not win the Civil War, and we still got killed and hung for that. We've been raped. We've been killed. We've been shot. We've been hung. So let's stop being so. And if you think that the destruction of property is more valuable than the lives that you are taking, then you have been misguided. So I'm not saying don't riot. I'm not saying to riot. I'm just saying if you choose to riot, be also willing to give your life. Because at some point when 45 decides that he wants to start shooting and killing, with this martial law that he's trying to put on, we now have curfews in probably over 30 different states right now. They're usually starting at 8, ending at 5 for some ending at 6 in the morning. But what that does is it gives them the ability to kill at will. And that's what you need to be prepared for. They're killing us at will. Now, what does that mean? If there's a curfew and you are out there and he has martial law, so he's actually using the United States military in that of the National Guard, sending them out to particular states. But the provocateurs that are among the African Americans, the neo-Nazis, the Iroquois, I listed on one of my pages, so it's too long to go on here. I listed them last night. All of the white supremacist groups, they are in the midst of the protests. Now, there are many white people that are on this in this protest. All those people that you see in the background in all of these states, these are not all just black people. There are some seriously supportive white people who do not want to be put in a pool of racists. But you have to also understand the first murderers of African American were law enforcement. The overseers on those horses with the whips were part of the overseers. Police officer, the police departments are those who supposed to protect and serve. It's the same thing as the overseers, just on a legal basis. Now, is it you said we have black police officers. Yes, we do have black police officers. But those black police officers, just like the House Negroes, that did not do anything. It wasn't that they didn't want to do anything, but self-preservation is basically where they are. And in self-preservation is the same issue that these police officers have. Black police officers don't need these white police officers to watch their back when guns start shooting. When somebody gets hit by friendly fire, we don't know if it's intentional or not. And if all those white police officers said that black police officer died on friendly fire, who's going to say the difference? Now, I've said this in some of my posts. Some of you may have, because I'm doing this live. I'm just saying it really just clear as I can. Not everyone who is there is protesting, and not everybody that's there is rioting. You have some rioters, you have protesters, and you have provocateurs. The provocateurs are the ones who are perpetuating the rioting. Now, let me tell you, since the beginning of time, we have had to go to the extreme to get heard. We for whatever reason, calm discussion is just not an option that we've ever been given in this country. To be heard, we have to tear shit up. And I don't even perpetuate tearing shit up, because if we tearing shit up in our own towns where we live, you're only hurting yourselves. But if you're not living, just because you're breathing, if you're not really living, then, be prepared to die. And that's a harsh reality, but it is the reality that we're living with. So as I want to start my lives, I want people to come and join the I'll call it the Sekou Review, because I believe that we can have legitimate conversation. And one of the things that I am looking for, because I want to be able to bring some African history into this, because my Uncle Leonard Jeffries and Rosalind Jeffries are both black historians in this country for 50 years of their career. And that's what I thought I was going to be doing this week, till it got usurped by this another murder of I Can't Breathe. Now, we have been choked for centuries. This choking is no different than a lynching. You cut off a man's ability to breathe, and he dies, and he asks you for, let me breathe, let me breathe. You have an opportunity and the obligation to release him, or that is a depraved mind. That's all you need for murder. And so we're asked, the question now is why is it taking so long to arrest these 4 officers? Now, again, because some of my lives I have not been able to transfer over, so some things may be repetitious for some of my viewers. What we do know is we have been told that there has been a, hello, that's my first person. Oh, thank you for joining me. We have been told that there has been an arrest of Chauvin. Now, this officer is the one who was on the neck of Mr. Floyd. There is 3 other officers that we are asking that they also be put in cuffs. As I've said on my other page, we have 3 officers, one on his legs, one on his back, and one on his neck. I said that the very first day before the news even came out. When that EMT came up and put his hands on his neck, he said to him, because I now have the transcript of the conversation, because there was one white girl out there, I wish I knew her name because I want to send her some flowers. She was 17 years old. She kept that camera square up on Mr. Floyd's face, down to the blood vessels as they started to burst in his eyes. And when he closed his eyes for the last time and his head went limp, we knew he was dead. The brother that was out there yelling to Tal, come on, Tal, you know that's a jiu-jitsu move. We learned that in the academy. That was a police officer off duty saying to him, you know that move is a jiu-jitsu move that causes him to lose air and breath. While he's saying that, Chauvin said, he can breathe. You hear him talking, he can breathe. But the question is, then you hear another man in the background saying, come on, Floyd, get up. He's like, I can't. Because on the other side of the car, which they weren't showing you, there was 2 other officers. One with his knees in his back, one with his knees in the back of his legs. So that is a quick review of what we already know. And it does not take a bunch of geniuses or anybody who's ever went to law school. If you can shoot a woman in her bed, surely you can get charged with murder. Because with a man with a gun license on the inside of that apartment shoots back at he who don't know who's busting in his door, he gets charged with attempted murder. Now, yes, they released him. You done shot a woman who was a worker in the hospital who was, I don't know if she was a nurse or EMT. If you could shoot her in her bed, surely you do it there, and you can immediately arrest her fiance. You can immediately arrest these officers. So this is the conversation that we need to be having. So what I wanted to do with you guys as I started out today, because I did this on my my Facebook page. Oh yeah, because I can't see guys. So you're gonna always see me changing my glasses. Now this is what I want you guys to understand, because the reason that we want them to start with first-degree murder is because with first-degree murder, you have let the jury decide if it's second degree or third degree. Whatever you start with, you don't give the jury. If there is some inclination of some sympathy for these officers by a jury from their community, because you know these jurors are all going to come from Minnesota. If there is some inclination that they don't want to give the harshness of charges, that you got to give them some choice, because they know that what they did was wrong. But if you only give them but one choice, that's all they're going to get. And you start at the lowest. As a judge, anytime the prosecutors here in New Jersey start off with first degree. Let the jury work themselves down whether it was depraved. You can't make that call. That it is not the prosecutor's duty to make that call as to whether this is first, second, or third. If the man is dead, there's a murder. If you determine there's a murder, then it's the jury who decides whether it's first degree, second degree, or third degree. If you give them no choice but the lowest, you're very likely to get a not guilty, which is how no officer in the state of Minnesota has ever been found guilty of every crime of murder, except for one black officer who gets in a tumble with a white woman who was there on a domestic violence. The only officer in the state of Minnesota that has ever been found guilty of a murder is a black officer. That is not coincidental, people. It cannot be that only this one one black officer in all of Minnesota. That's why that Amy Klobuchar needs to shut the hell up, because she was the state attorney general when that nonsense happened. So we have to right now stop arguing over whether we get whether who that we're going to pick with Biden or Biden being too. Biden is the choice. Biden is the choice. You either want Biden or you want Trump. All of this other shit don't even matter. I don't even care how many flubs he had. Nobody in 8 years talked about none of this nonsense that they're bringing up now when he was the vice president. It was just as important when he was vice president. Then you should have brought it up back there 8 years ago, and then maybe President Obama would have picked somebody different. And all y'all talking about what President Obama is not doing, it's not President Obama's. If President Bush has started coming in there giving his opinion on what Obama should or should not been doing, y'all lost your damn minds. So right now, President Obama's coming out with what President Obama should do in support of Biden, now that Biden is the choice, and in support of justice. He is not to be attacking Trump directly, because you know what? A grown-ass, mature man don't have to do attacks. He can be the bigger person. He don't have to call names like a little second grader. So that's what we're dealing with. So be careful of what you're asking for, because what you're asking for is sometimes not even appropriate. Why isn't President Obama doing? It's not President Obama's job. He has been the president. The fact that you have a president that don't want to do anything, maybe you need to ask that to be the most important question that you need to understand. And right now, I need all of y'all who are on Cardi B's page, Oprah's page, Tyler Perry page, Tyrese's page, D.L. Hughley's page, all of these people who have a voice, Savvy, Huffington Post, all of you guys who have significant platforms, you need to start talking about what we need in this case to get the people at least something that they can give themselves a deep breath. Because we still cannot figure out how, we watch a death in real time, you cannot start with the highest and let the jury decide what it goes down to. The prosecutor should not be in the position of determining what degree of murder it is. It's murder, we all agree. Whether it's first, second, or third is a juror's choice. So let me give you quick right now, because it was my thought to make sure that I define to you, the murder charges, because at every state they're different. So you cannot just say because in New Jersey is one thing, it may be very, very different in another state. So murder is the intent to cause death. It is the unlawful killing of a human being with malice or forethought. The plan to kill them. The mandatory sentence in California is 25 years to life. In Minnesota, and we started with California because this is what happened to Rodney King's case. And in Minnesota, it is also 25 to life. Now, first degree murder is the premeditated, pre-planned killing of another human being. Willful, deliberate killing requires motive, a reason, a method, and a planning, including hiring someone to kill. Now, this is the thing that so I hear some of the professional prosecutors saying that is going to be hard to do. Let me tell you why it's not hard. Here, you're saying, and it sounds like it's hard, but let me explain. It says the premeditated, pre-planned. Now, it became premeditated and pre-planned in the instant. We already know that these two men possibly know each other because they both worked at the same club as a bouncer. So to say that Chauvin did not know Mr. Floyd is probably a lie. He worked there at this club for 19 years. Now, I don't know when Mr. Floyd started or ended, but we know that he ended working there in 2019, which is just a few months ago. The question is why? Because Chauvin he was there for 17 years. The other thing, again, because I don't even remember what I told you on the last one, Chauvin has not had a perp walk yet. We have not seen any arrest photos yet. We have not seen the arrest photos of the other three officers because they haven't been arrested. But what we do know, all of their houses have been wiped out. There's nothing in their houses. Not burnt down, not looted. They are moved out of their residence. Where are they? Where are they? We have not seen a perp walk. We have not seen him with a picture of a plaque that said he has been arrested. Why? We heard there was a $50,000 bond. $50,000 bond, you get a $50,000 bond for selling marijuana. So I'm not even sure what they think they're accomplishing with the $50,000 bond. So let's get, so when you're talking about premeditated, pre-planned, it was pre-planned when the brother was telling you you are killing him and you chose not to release your foot off your neck. So in that moment, you plan to kill him. When he is saying, I can't breathe, and you did not move your foot, it was pre-planned to stay there, you planned to kill him. When the EMT came and put his hand on his neck and said he is already dead and you still didn't move, you pre-planned that you were going to stay there until they got over there with even dead to roll his body over onto that gurney. So pre-planned don't mean you had to plan it yesterday or you planned it before you got there. You have the mens rea, the mental ability to determine whether the amount of pressure that this man was using on his neck was legitimately used or not. So pre-planned don't take no yesterday or the hour before. In the moment, he planned to stay on him until he stopped breathing. So don't let it get fooled by whether the pre-planned meant yesterday, premeditated. Second degree is the killing of another, requires malice or forethought, the intent to kill, but it was not pre-planned. So at the very least, this, you don't even have to, you won't have to be determined by the pre-plan. Because here is the malice. The malice was when the man is telling you he can't breathe, and you're telling him, because they have the audio of him saying, if you couldn't breathe, then you shouldn't be able to talk. So shut the F up. This is what they're saying. So people, they're going to assume you're not in legalese, so you don't understand what's going on. But see, the pre-planned, premeditated, the premeditation started when you decided that 3 men are going to hold this man down, and you're going to continue to hold your foot on a very, very sensitive place that he knows there is no chokehold that is in the books in Minnesota that allows you to choke nobody. It ain't there. Now, what they planned on is, like I said, Jefferson Beauregard Sessions changed rules when he came in to say that you cannot charge a police officer in the line of duty. Well, they ain't police officers no more. So that the mayor did what he had to do. So I'm giving you first degree and I'm giving you second degree. So I'm going to give you the third degree, which is the nonsense that they actually are charging him with, so that you can get an idea of what the third degree is. Third degree is often called manslaughter, usually the result of reckless cause of death with no advanced intent to do so. Example, a woman lost control of her vehicle, caused a head-on collision, thereby killing a driver. No. That is so far, this is not manslaughter. This is murder. See here, it's the usual result of reckless. Reckless means that you do something. If you're firing your weapon and through a door and you kill somebody, that was reckless. Now, those fools that was outside that killed that woman in her bed, that was reckless. I can give you that reckless. I can say they may not have came there to kill nobody, but when you shot through a door, the likelihood that somebody was on the other side of that door is very likely. That's reckless. For them to get charged with nothing, that's bullshit. Because you surely charged her boyfriend for shooting outside of the door. He's on the phone still not knowing that these are police officers when they come in and arrest him. He said, somebody just shot through our door, shot my girlfriend. We're laying in the bed. Then they bust in the door and arrest him and then will charge him with murder. But you didn't charge these officers with nothing. So if you want to charge third degree, those officers should get charged for third degree. And still murder. We ain't questioning murder. Murder is clear. The intent is clear. The malice for me is clear. But even if you can't find malice, you daggone show intent of the second degree. See, the first degree requires that you thought it beforehand. The thought beforehand is in real time. In that 8 minutes, he had a decision that he could get off this man's neck. When you decide that you are going to stay on his neck, you have now got your malice has been clearly determined. The malice is in. Now, so you want to we're gonna play with apples and oranges. I'm gonna tell you that these are collard greens. Ain't even in the same the food circle category. These collard greens. This is some you can't go apples and oranges because they're both round and y'all might get them confused. Some people don't know what tomatoes are fruit. So see, I can't depend on apples and oranges. I got to give you two different food categories. I can say this is a pork chop. And this over here is some lettuce. That's the kind of disparity in anything that makes any damn sense. So with the first degree, the intentional plan out example without divulging a sexual deviant lives in a neighborhood. A widow sold her home to a family with a young daughter who got attacked by a neighbor. Outraged, the father got a gun and found the widow and killed him. Now I know that's the example they gave him. That's some bullshit, you know. So I'm gonna give you what I can tell you. The purpose for us in this case is not to prejudge which murder. That is given to you by the let the prosecutor throw the book at him like we get first, second, and third. Let them deal with it, whether it was intentional, whether it was premeditated, or whether it was reckless, which is manslaughter for us here in New Jersey. This nonsense of trying to say that, and I'm listening to black prosecutors now. I'm listening to them say, you know, they're charging with what they think they can prove. No, bro, that's bullshit. Y'all don't charge us that way. Y'all charge first, and then let the jury decide whether they want a lesser charge or not. Give the jury the right to choose a lesser charge. Don't see, you're already prejudging the case before you even get an arrest. And again, these men have not been arrested. They are somewhere, but they are not in the police station. They're not at their home addresses. And we have not seen a perp walk or a mugshot to tell you that Chauvin has actually been arrested. This man, while you know that you're in the crosshairs of being charged with murder, yet they have 50 guarded police officers guarding his house up until the day they gave us this yin yang about the fact that he has been arrested and has a $50,000 bond. No. So I am asking all of you to go to my YouTube page, and I see one of my faves. I'm not even going to call out. I see a lot of my faves are on here. And subscribe to my page or subscribe under some other fictitious names because of the jobs that you do. Subscribe to my page and make sure all of your friends subscribe to my YouTube page, because this is how I'm going to get out there. It is my objective to get to DC. I'm not trying to be elected to anything. I want to get on one of these boards through the NAACP, the Urban League, Black Lives Matter. We need to, for me, my daughter's in college. She's going to be out on her own soon, and it's just going to be about me. I'm only 58. I'll be 59 in 2 more months, but I got 40 years of living because I'm gauging my life by my living aunt who's 96 and still talking shit. So I'm giving myself 40 more years to be able to make a change in this country, and I know that change going to come. Change ain't going to come with us sitting back and just watching it on TV. See, those of us who are willing to fight a good fight, I am willing and more than intellectually capable. I can, sometimes you got to get ratchet with the ratchetness. See, white people are very easily get rattled by black people. And I'm not telling you this to be racist with white folks. I mean, I've gotten on an elevator in my jeans and sneakers with a white woman and she go caught on her pocketbook. I'm like, did you see this Birkin bag here, sweetheart? You obviously ain't seen this Birkin bag, because that whatever you carrying, I should be scared of you trying to take my pocketbook more than me trying to take your pocketbook. Trust and believe. So they get confused just by the black face and the nappy hair. I've not conformed And those of you who know me, I had locks for the last 40 years. So all of this nonsense that, all these new folks trying to be Black Power, y'all putting your hair up wearing it natural. I'm glad y'all come a long way. You come a long way. But you ain't got to be fried, not laid to the side, and you ain't got to be nappy. If you're there for the movement and your heart is in the right place, I don't care what kind of hair you got. I don't care how dark you are, what complexion you are, whether you came here originally as a slave or you came here via plane or from another country and got naturalized citizenship. We all are looked at the same black people. They are not looking through a scope as to who are descendants of slaves, who came over here voluntarily, who has an accent. We are black people. You are black people in one lot. If you have one drop of black in you because you black, your spouse is black, your kids are black. So you need to understand your kids are not safe because they light, bright, and damn near white. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. We all black. So I need you, Tyler Perry, if you listen to this, Oprah, if you listen to this, y'all went up there to interview goddamn what's the fool? I can't even go with the kind of the interviews that y'all make sure comes on Good Morning America. Good Morning America. Can you talk to the family members? Should the family members only have to go on to your black sites to be heard? MSNBC is they're doing their thing. They've been interviewing family members, but see, that's cable. See, for some white people, they need to see stuff happen on what they consider legitimate television because Trump done said that, the fake news. So MSNBC, CNN, y'all are now, then he's already made toxic, any information that you get off of those channels. But see, the Fox in the daytime and Fox on cable is not actually even the same goddamn Fox. Y'all need to understand that too. That's two different, the cable company. The nighttime Fox that you see on cable and the Fox in the day is two different Foxes. If that was the case, y'all sure not wouldn't be having no daggone, every damn black major show comes on Fox. And so you got to know that there's different levels of Fox. So what I'm telling you is to share my page. If you go on my page, I've sent a lot of you my 30-second commercial for my private practice. And if you're asking me, am I advertising myself? Absolutely, that is exactly what I'm doing. And you're absolutely right. So those of you who have connection, I am trying to get to Washington in some, I don't want to go as because right now in the election, but Biden has to make appointments. And I want to be in that pool of people he's appointing, especially when it comes to cases and issues like this. Because if you don't have enough of us to redo what they have done between Bill Barr and Jefferson Beauregard Sessions in these last 3 years, while they are putting permanent positions on the Supreme Court in the federal division where these cases will go on appeal, you will have everybody that has been appointed by Trump making sure that those cases do not stand, and that even if you find a guilty, because remember, the prosecutor's cases cannot be appealed. But if he gets found guilty of first degree, he will be able to try to appeal. And if he goes to the appellate division, right now 45 has appointed 192 Article 3 judges. Article 3 judges are judges who are in those positions for the rest of their life. So we ain't giving a shit about the next 4 years. He is putting in judges on the appellate division and at the Supreme Court. He is waiting for Ruth Bader Ginsburg to die. We need to carry her around, put her in a bubble, because he's waiting to be able to put that last person on the Supreme Court and start breaking down Roe versus Wade, breaking down Brown versus Board of Education, breaking down LGBTQ community, breaking down the ability to keep money into the election systems, breaking down the ability to not allow any people who have lived here their entire life, DACA, to get citizenship. All of these things, if we get him in 4 years, it's done. It is completely done. And it's not just the top of the ticket. We must go and vote for our senators. We need the whole House, both the Congress and the Senate is the only way we can make changes. The reason why you guys complain that President Obama didn't do shit. President Obama wasn't going to be your savior. President Obama was not coming and changing a system that has been in place for 400 years. This black man could do what only he could do. And if he didn't have the Senate and the House, he did as much as he could do in the first 4 years. He put 2 women on the Supreme Court in the first 4 years. Because that second 4 years, they stopped him from putting any more judges in. And as soon as Trump, that bullshit that Mitch McConnell said is that he's a lame duck. No duck is lamer than this duck that we're dealing with right now. This quack motherfucker right here, he is about as lame can be. But yet they are putting in judges every single day, even amongst the pandemic, I was listening, if anybody watched a clip that I had the other night after I got off of my rant that I'm trying to calm down. It was a white House of Representative from Pennsylvania that was going off because these meetings they were calling the Republicans in, they found out that many of those Republicans had tested positive, and no one let the Democrats who left their houses going back to their families, their aunts and their uncles, their mothers, their fathers, their children, their wives with coronavirus. Half of them are right now in quarantine. So this is the other thing that I've been telling you. I'm going to end with this. Continue the protests. Continue the uprise. But be prepared to die. Be prepared to get hurt. And be prepared to get in a position where they will not allow you to vote because you're going to be hanging in the jail trying to figure out how you're going to get out. So everything you have to have a game plan. You can't go in recklessly. So if you're going to burn down your community, you need to have a deposit on the next place you're going to live. See, we must do this strategically. Now, yeah, when they burned down Tulsa, Oklahoma, and the black community in 1921, they burnt down the entire black community. All 30 blocks, all black-owned homes, all black-owned businesses, from grocery stores to liquor stores to the banks and it was called the first Wall Street because per capita that black community was making more money than anywhere else in the United States. We had our own airport, our own pilots. We wasn't asking y'all for nothing. We was willing to live on our own. That was the same position that Malcolm X took. But when even willing to live on our own, y'all came and burnt our shit down because what? Y'all said a black man tried to rape a white woman. Woo, so that gives you the reason to burn down the whole goddamn community? All right, you killed the black man. So then you gave us permission to burn down your motherfucking community. You got what's good for the goose is good for the gander because I can go back and give you every piece of history that justifies rioting. Okay, so, when Benjamin Addicks was killed over at the Boston Tea Party, what the hell he had to do with anything that had to do with the Boston Tea Party? So don't get me started with y'all white folks killing us first. And when I say white folks, I'm not talking about every white person that looks at this thread. I'm talking about the white America that even white America know is fucked up white America. That's who I'm talking about. So I'm going to say grace and peace to you guys. And know now that I've figured out how I'm going to do these lives on Instagram, I'm going to be doing it. I hope that all of you, subscribe. And when you see my alerts that I'm on, I'm going to be on probably just about every day. This allows those of you who have let Facebook go and Twitter go, give you another vehicle to at least stay up because I'm going to stay up on it. I'm going to stay up on it, but I'm going to give you truth. I'm not watering it down for black folks. If y'all do some stupid shit, I'm going to say something about y'all too. But right now, I believe that you can be a bit more organized in how you do this. If you go, these is times when if you're going to go and they're giving you a curfew, you're not likely to get shot if you're sitting down. I ain't saying kneeling. I'm saying sitting down. Because that means they have to drag your ass out of the way. So understand how you can do it and not get killed and still get your point across. If you got 2,000-3,000 people sitting their asses down, I don't care how many people they got in. If you're not doing anything destructive, they will be hard pressed to shoot tear gas into a group of people that are sitting down. Now, martial law basically means you're out there, and they indicated that it is against the law to be out there. They can shoot you as soon as you start moving and doing shit. But if you're sitting down peacefully, then they're gonna try to drag your behinds out there. And down, be prepared because they'll drag you to jail. But again, there's not enough cells to put 2,000-3,000 people that are out there with purpose and forethought. But remember, the provocateurs are among the good white people and black. Remember when Trump started talking about good people on both sides? Yeah, there's white people out there, and they ain't no. There's some good and there's some bad, but they are on the same side, and we don't know the difference. Because white people see with us, they will surely make us all one group of. I don't care what your education is, we're all one group. So I don't ever want to be broad brushed. So I don't want to put a broad brush on all white Americans. But let me tell you that the provocateurs are out there. And this again is one more thing in the instance of the provocateurs. Remember when the police department got burnt down, and they were able to go up on the roof and burn in "Can You See Us"? Who the hell came to a daggone riot with a ladder? And trust me, you just didn't get on top of that roof, scaling the walls like Spider-Man. To take the time and burn letters large enough to say "Can you see us" from a helicopter takes a lot of motherfucking fuel and who came with a torch? And then they throw you off to put hashtag George Floyd. But in real time, as you watched it, because I stayed up the whole time, it was 1 hour difference in Minnesota than it is here. The 4 areas of the burning up of the police station, which is one they're going to keep showing you, was strategically done by arsonists. Now, an arsonist is a professional burner. They're not just somebody who, an arsonist is skilled on burning shit down. So when that police department went up in fire, that was the work of arsonists. Now, I don't know how many people in that group, if any, were professional arsonists. But they were in all black and their skin was white. That part you could see because only their mouths were covered. They had all black, but you can see that they were light bright damn near white, but they was white. But what is the possibility that any black people decided they were going to dress alike? We can get, a little ghetto sometimes, but all dressing alike to go to a march, unless you're wearing a t-shirt that says "I can't breathe." They didn't have any of that on. The first brick that went through the window of Target was by one of those same dressed people, all black with a mask on. The first Molotov cocktail came over the heads of the crowds. Now, you got to ask yourself all of these strategic questions of all of this destruction while he's out there telling you that when you start looting, we're going to start shooting. Well, the looting and shooting, I sent up a little funny on this white girl running up out of Target with 2 lamps. So don't let them, black people, don't get caught up in what 45 says. We already know that he spews out shit on a daily basis and has no empathy for anybody but himself. But he will flip this around to get white people scared enough to come back over to him, hoping that, making them believe that we're going to kill them and rape them and pillage their communities when they've been stealing, raping, and pillaging our communities since the beginning of time. But not allowing hospitals and proper structures in our buildings and where we live, that is keeping us in oppressive situations, in oppressive living. Not giving the funding to our schools and wanting to cut things like lunches for our children. So I don't even have time to get into the amount of very systemic racism that was put back in place that had already been taken out of place that y'all redid under this administration to keep the poor poorer. What he's doing is not beneficial financially to anyone, but that's what I wanted to talk about. But right now, for the next few days, we got to be talking about death. And we got to be talking about convictions. We got to be talking about indictment. But more importantly, we got to be talking about voting. Voting is how we change the circumstances that we're in. Grace and peace. I love you. I love you, all of you who I know can't necessarily participate in this conversation, but I know you hear me. And I love you for doing it. Talk to you later. Deuces.